Hello, everyone. Today we are looking at Mirror's Edge by DICE, of all companies. This was a really cool, really weird, surreal game when it first came out. It's a first-person parkour game, and it's just really weird and interesting. Again, this whole different styles of gameplay coming together. There is also, like an FPS element to it, but it's really kind of minor. So yeah, this was a really interesting, ambitious project that, again, I really was really intrigued by, and a lot of people were really intrigued by it too. And again, it was this new kind of thing. And so the basic premise of Mirror's Edge essentially is that, yeah, you are a runner. And so your job is to go around the city delivering information, running on the rooftops, evading the police, and, the counterculture, counter-corporate kind of character and style. And so the entire game is based around essentially how you run through the environment, how you maintain speed and momentum and keep that kind of going. And so basically you use L to dodge or duck and slide under a certain cover. You press R to punch. And so there is a fighting aspect to this game. There are definitely physical confrontations, but a lot of it is running away and running through the course as fast as possible and having an in-game timer as well. And from a story perspective, you play as a courier of faith, and essentially your sister who works for the corporate police, it's kind of a police state city. Your sister is essentially framed, and you need to clear her innocence and, essentially vindicate her. And how you do that is basically by finding the guy who framed her and get the evidence on him, and then kind of make your way through the corporate world. And again, as a runner, you evade police sentries and whatever, and become this rogue agent essentially. What's also very cool about Mirror's Edge is the actual aesthetic and look of the game, which actually functions as part of the game design. For example, when you're running through the world, anything red that highlights itself is essentially something that can be opened or utilized, or the right path for you to take. And Mirror's Edge has this very cool aesthetic about it, where essentially everything is this bright white clinical style, while the police are these dark black uniforms, and it's that contrast together that really makes it a unique and interesting experience. And of course, Faith, even her custom and character design has a very distinct look to her, where again she's also in red and black, or rather black and white, but then of course she has those red gloves, and of course that's kind of a rebel component of her character. And again, it's a very cool game that is really focused more so on platforming and running through levels in a first-person perspective, which is very unusual. This seems like a game that should be third person, but it simply isn't, and it's really interesting to see that. What's also very cool is, a lot of shooters are coming out around this time, and so there are times when you're able to kick and punch and take out certain police officers, and when you do that, you can actually grab their firearms. And it was kind of unusual for the first time in a while to pick up a firearm and not see a ammo counter or a reticle on your screen. And so you just have this clean, seamless integration, HUD, or rather lack of a HUD, and so you're really one with the game world. And this is definitely the time of games when they really try to innovate in terms of creating a seamless interactive experience, where the less HUD you had, the better the experience was, and the more realistic essentially and immersive it was for the gamer. And I always thought that was really, really cool. There are also other mechanics where you have a little step. You can use that as kind of a speed boost and other things. Also, there are ramps, zip lines, landing pads, and all kinds of other things in the world that make it very unique and interesting. My favorite thing in this game is to build up enough momentum that you find a new path or a new way to get around. There's also definitely wall running, so you can jump off multiple walls and do multiple things, and it feels really, really cool and really, really good. Again, this kind of feels like a combination of Assassin's Creed and, I don't know, something else. What's another cool thing is, of course, you fall from a very high height, but you're always moving forward. You will do a roll and minimize your damage. And a lot of the time, again, you're just running from the police. There's a lot of, gunfire and stuff that are going on and stuff like that, which is really cool. Another cool thing aesthetically is a lot of the levels have their own theme. Some will be blue, some will be green and yellow, but the red pathways, pipes, doors, launch pads, etc. are a constant throughout. And so I really enjoy how they have this thing where it's an in-game mechanic that essentially makes sense and guides the player. And because Mirror's Edge is an inherently abstract kind of game, it kind of works as a whole. So, the whole sort of yellow paint conversation, which is the very basic, easy, and frankly lazy way to go about making certain games and game scenarios. Mirror's Edge kind of really pioneered this and made it a very distinct kind of theme and style. Another thing I really love about Mirror's Edge is the soundtrack. There's some very cool, trancey, ambient tracks in this game, solar fields and whatnot. They just do a really good job, honestly, of all of their kind of... And again, I like that it also does not stop you from trying to fight the police if you want. You can go up against guys with shotguns and assault rifles and try to take them out. And in fact, the final level is nothing but a horde mode and a wave after wave of officers that you have to take out and take their weapons and use their own firepower against them. And this game from start to finish is very iconic, very well made, and just overall just a very unique, interesting classic game. Again, the dialogue from Faith, the whole atmosphere of this weird corporate controlled clinical world is really interesting. And, you kind of have this really cool aesthetic design of white and reds and very clear, defined colors that make it really stand out, especially at the time when most shooters that were coming out were basically gray and brown and bloom. And this really made it stand out a lot from its contemporaries. It was a very cool brainchild kind of game. And it tells a pretty decent story, a pretty good setting. And again, like everything from art design to art direction, graphics, combat, gameplay, story, music, everything in this game is made really, really well. And just one of those one-hit wonder games that really kind of blew up and people were like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's a distinct, thing, essentially. Another interesting aspect to this game is, I guess, kind of the sequel. Unfortunately, it just wasn't very good, honestly. And the funny part is, for the rest of the franchise, it kind of ended with its sequel, which was Mirror's Edge Catalyst. And I don't know how else to really describe that game, but it was more like an open world thing instead of a linear mission thing. And you had this huge map and a bunch of quests, and I don't know, the vibe just felt off. It felt like this was a much more small, scoped out mission and mission structure, and the sequel just kind of missed the theme and the vibe of the first game, and just kind of said, oh, we'll just make more content in the Mirror's Edge style, and that'll be enough. And I never really super enjoyed that, and I tried to like the sequel, but it just did not vibe for me. Anyway, not much else to say. I just really like this game. I think it's kind of a modern classic, and it's very distinct. I love it. Anyway, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.